took all the best of me. Is it enough finally? Give it all up, set me free. You know the one day I will.
Oh hey, it's Wes and Maggie, and today we're gonna have a look at the new, I was gonna say the big and new, but it's the small and new, Sony 70-200 2.8 GM Mark II. So suddenly, Sony has a 70-200 lens that is the lightest in its field. It actually feels a lot like this lens, the Sony 70-200 f4. The old one was significantly girthier than the f4. This one gets closer. It's also much closer in weight. As a matter of fact, although I know this is 150 grams more, it just does not feel significant. That's kind of amazing. One of my big reasons for not having a 70-200 2.8 lens all the time is that I don't use them a lot and they're really heavy in the bag. I can take a lot of stuff with me instead of this. So that's a great move on their part. And we're starting out, as always, with the build quality for all the categories. As you can see here, this is a very run-of-the-mill G Master lens. That doesn't mean anything bad. They're generally pretty solid lenses. It's got your weather sealing in the back, got that O-ring. It has this time an aperture ring, which can be clicked or declicked. It can be locked in place. We have a locking lens hood. It's no longer the pedal style, and I actually prefer this because I like to set it down like this. It's got a nice rubber bumper on the bottom, and that takes care of it. One problem with our build here is that we don't have an Arca-Swiss foot. Love to see an Arca-Swiss foot on these lenses. Saves me from having to put an Arca-Swiss plate on it. Just build it right in, guys. Some other lenses have that already. Doesn't change the foot size that much by doing that. Focus ring and the zoom ring, they feel fine. A little looser than I would have expected. This lens is well used. It comes to me after going to a lot of other places. Overall, we're talking about G Master quality here. It's a 10 out of 10. Number 2 is image quality. Not that long ago, people were saying that the original 70-200 2.8 GM was the best zoom for image quality, but not anymore. This one, many would say, is the best. How good is it actually? It's fantastic. When using it with, say, a camera like the A1, you're getting all the resolution that you need. At 2.8, I wouldn't say it fully resolves the A1, but once you stop it down just a little bit, it is very sharp. Is it as sharp as, say, the 135 G Master? No, it is not. It is as sharp as the 35 G Master. No, it is not. But it is close. And it is a zoom, which is shocking. Chromatic aberration, quite well controlled. Flares, excessively well controlled. Sometimes it's nice to have a flare, but we'll talk about that more in image character, so it's all a win right now. So this is tip-top for a zoom. The only thing that could be better is our distortion. It's got a little bit of distortion, but I believe this is one of the prices that we pay for this small and light design. Gonna give that a 9 out of 10 for image quality. Moving along to image character. This is something I care about a lot. The old GM found it boring and clinical.
Let me know the things you never spoke about. Our candles have all burned out.
This GM, I find it slightly less boring and clinical, but still not super interesting.
Set me free. You already took all the best of me. Is it enough finally? Give it
The bokeh is smooth, but not absolutely perfect. Still slightly better than the last one, which is kind of a running theme here, slightly better than the last one. I have a decent amount of background separation. I don't find it really pops great, just as much as you would expect from a 70-200 lens. Around the edges, you have a fair amount of cat's eye bokeh, boop, 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 which is the other price that you pay for the small and light design, because your first element is not gigantic, and that's what has the biggest effect on whether or not you get that footballing around the edges. While this won't wow you, it's not going to be like, boom, that looks amazing for image rendition. It is still perfectly solid, not distracting. It is great. It's an 8 out of 10. Autofocus. The old one was really fast. This one is a little bit faster because it's made to be paired with the likes of the A1. It is much faster than the f4. The f4 is very reliable, but not as quick. And then this one gets you even better in low light. It is a very reliable lens, but again, it's not the fastest Sony lens in the market. but as a zoom, it quite possibly is. So I've got to give that a 9.5 out of 10. Not a lot to complain about, but once you put it on the A1, it can get a bit manic because it's so fast. The A1 can be indecisive, not indecisive. It will rapidly decide on things you don't expect it to do. We're getting into this territory where autofocus is so fast that it can confuse me as a human being. Now, we've seen a lot of image samples already. If you want to see more and higher quality ones, there's a link down in the description below. If you want to pick up one of these lenses, again, there are links in the description below to help support my family and feed my fat cats. Handling and usability. Obviously, we've got a big win here when it comes to 70-200s. It is lighter and more compact than the old one. We have more switches on here. We can switch to DMF, which allows you to take control in the middle. I don't know how useful that is to people anymore. We have 3 panning modes for the image stabilization. And I love this, we have an iris lock. So we can decide whether or not this aperture ring works, and also we can click or declick it. And we have the 3 customizable buttons, and we have the image filter door, and we have a removable, rotatable foot. We're just lacking that Arca-Swiss dovetail. But overall, when it comes to a 70-200 lens, honestly, I don't think there's one that beats this for handling and usability. The Tamron's smaller, but it lacks the buttons, it lacks the features that also add to usability. And again, I love that round, not pedal-shaped lens hood. I've got to give that a 9 out of 10. Last, we have value. And that's a tricky place here because they've improved things, and as such, the price has gone up. We're looking at $2,800. That's the most expensive we've seen in a long time from Sony. But it's the same price as the Canon 70-200 RF, the collapsible one. A little thicker, a little shorter when it's collapsed. The original GM has dropped in price to $2,000. That kind of hurts us here. Got the F4, $1,500, the Nikon Z mirrorless 70-200, $2,600, pretty close, really chunky boy. And you can still get the Tamron 70-180 2.8 for only $1,200. Phenomenal deal. Not an amazing lens, but for the price, amazing for the price. So, unfortunately, that can only give us a 6 out of 10. You can do the 70-200 for a lot cheaper. Honestly, if the original 70-200 GM hadn't dropped so much, like it's $800 less, this would be a higher number. Image quality and focus-wise, this lens is like maybe 20 to 30% better. The biggest win here is the size, honestly, for me. You're talking about almost 50% more, like 40% more in price for an incremental increase. So unless you need the absolute best image quality in the absolute latest package, that 70-200 GM Mark I is looking real good right now. But if you want the best, this is very clearly it. It is an impressive lens, and there's not a lot to talk about, honestly, because it is so well-rounded. So what does that give us for a total score? That's a 51.5 out of 60. I am picky. I mean, it's my job to be picky. But overall, this is near the top of the market for any lens that I have reviewed. And that's not surprising. Honestly, this is one of the simplest reviews I've ever had to do because it is an incremental update that has clear advantages over the old one. The only tough part is that price. Is it worth it to you? Where I am, with tax, this lens is just shy of $4,000. Let's say you decide to pair it with the A1, where I am, just shy of $10,000 with tax. We have $14,000 together. That is a serious question for you to decide for your business or for your hobby. Let me know what you think about the new 70-200 GM Mark II down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you there. But until next time, let's go take some very sharp photos.